Hello, everyone. Mike Arnold here, co-founder, Path Trading Partners, along with Bob Iacchino. Let me just see here. I was having some technical difficulty before we got started. Again, if you're new here, welcome, welcome, welcome. Please do consider subscribing, ringing the bell, and clicking the like button as I shrink back down. See, I shrunk back down. I have to still some fine tuning to deal with. Ooh, lots of big selling today in the market. Let's see. Welcome. This should be an interesting show. 8 billion market on close. Yeah, it was a little selling pressure into the close. Hello, Abraham. Oh boy. So remember I said we got a nice line in the sand back when I did this. I think I said that yesterday when we rallied back. We have a line in the sand on today's low. So this is very key. Now, we had Powell today, Jerome Powell, Fed chair, talking about, they're going to remove transitory and they might have to bring in the taper. So that just put the kibosh on anything good happening today, that kiboshed it. And, you saw just constant cascading of selling lower. My key line the same was this 46.40. We tried to get up there again right with the open, and then it just tanked. The only additional I didn't do it. No, I'll show you on the Nasdaq what I did. But so this is very key. Now tomorrow, who knows? Can he come out and say, uh, "Oops"? I want a do-over. I didn't mean to tank the market. I guess he could. You know, as I was talking to Bob, my partner, we were doing some live stream testing, and that's what I sort of messed up stuff when I was doing some live stream because I was going to try to have him on this week. But he said if he came out with first course tomorrow, he could blow Fed's credibility if it's not already blown. Because now they probably top ticked inflation. Inflation will probably still remain high, but slightly subside unless they lock down everything again. But we shall see. This was not good price action. And why do I say that? Let me take off all these lines. Finally, we're now into the weekly rotation zone, and if he doesn't reverse course tomorrow and we continue selling, which would be a better course, would be a stronger course of action for a pullback. My key area then is I just put on about 44.48 for a low, but then I'd watch where we're closing. Our closing on our weekly rotation zone is 44.81. Wish there was a way without restoring all the lines. I could just restore some of the lines, but that's not the way it works. So you can see here we bounced off. We had 45.61 just spiking slightly below it. Let's take a look at that daily again. We dropped below the 50-period exponential. Now we're closing back above. Real quick, if we did get a massive turnaround tomorrow, I would have a buy signal if we closed above today's high, but it would have to close above today's high only. So if he reverses course and says, no, you know what, we're not going to bring in taper or anything else, we have another rip your face off rally that close below today's high would be an entry signal. Other than that, not much going on to the upside. Let's update some of these key levels. See how nicely that 45.61 worked today, finally getting down there end of the day. We have this little short term double bottom too. Let me switch cameras here and put up the S&P little logo. So I'm going to update. We're coming down here. Let's see now. There we go. All right. So lower. I also changed my bullish line in the sand. I need it to get above here. Not even above the peak. I wouldn't front run the double though. This is just a mini little level I'll put on here in case it does trigger for overnight. We can go back and look. keep an eye on it. I'm using conservative targets on this one. There's our double, and the highest target probability area would be this 46.23 to 46.24, but we need a close above 45.97 to trigger, and it's not confirmed until it trades above there. Remember, first has to confirm, and that would be for super aggressive traders, and then it has to close above there on the 1 hour time frame for more cautious traders. Now, my bullish even for tomorrow, even if the double completes, I need it to remain above 45.92 or 45.93 to be in at all bullish mode. We could even get to the first target on the double. This is a 4 hour chart, and hit that first double bottom target, which is raising the stop, and easily roll over there with the declining 4 hour. If you did go into it, you could complete all the targets and still then roll over before hitting the top, or just hitting the top of the rotation zone, depending on when this all goes down. So I will keep an eye on that. I'll probably set some alerts. We did have this 4 hour divergence on the push down, so we might see a little strength coming in. But other than that, it have to really prove itself, and it's all going to probably hinge on what Powell's talking about tomorrow night, unless some significant news comes out this evening. But you see, even if it completed all those patterns, you still have the hooking over rotation zone. So that is not great for the overall long term. Now, we don't trade crossovers or anything else, but if we get the cross down and continue lower, we're technically in neutral mode with a sort of a bearish tendency right now, which means the market has to really do some heavy lifting to prove itself. It's got to have some bullish price action, because even on any rallies, I'll be watching for the rollover moves. Now, at some point, possibly before the end of the year, we could get a really nice bottoming signal if this selling continues, and then there might be some great long setups going into the very end of the year. But until then, again, the only way tomorrow I have a buy set up is if we close above today's high. So we'd have to have like a massive, just take the day like the 26th, Black Friday, flip it to a green bar. If we had that kind of rally today that closed above, or tomorrow that closed above the high, that would be a very aggressive short term. Other than that, it's watching for returns, so especially the 4 hour rotation zone, to watch for key levels. To watch for rollovers. So it's also for longs, or for things you might be trading. If we're rallying into those key rotation zones, then it's all right, I have to aggressively raise my stops instead of just, what should I do here? Well, it's aggressively raise your stops. So levels to the upside, besides this little double we already watched, key areas I'll be watching. We already have that close enough with that double target. So above that, then I'm watching about 46.40. Above 46.40, my next key, we'll just do a little reverse harmonic here, see where that is. But yep, see, it just reconfirmed. So minor would be 46.55, but major just confirms this prior significant level at 46.67. And then above 46.67, what's interesting is then we're into this this clear path move, and then we don't have much key resistance. I'm going to pull off this level. So above 46.67, not that we get all there tomorrow, but it'd be 4,700 with minor resistance coming in about 46.91. Again, unless Powell's completely reverses course tomorrow, not expecting anything of the sort, because those levels, look, that puts us, that harmonic puts us right near today's high. So it would have to take out that and then close above that harmonic for that bullish entry pattern. So that's about it for the S&P lower. I didn't do lower. Lower, let's see. Below this 45.57 area. Below 45.57, let's check this price action. we're going to this key emotional bar close and then this little support shelf about 45.48. Below that, 45.34. To about 45.29, and then below that, I'm going down to 45.16 to 45.11. Let's see, wavy ass. Do you think we could be entering a longer bear market? I think we are due for a larger pullback. I think everything's going to hinge on what he says tomorrow. And again, you joined a little late, but let me just recap this. We're into last week, we pulled back to the rotation zone on a weekly basis. This week so far, we're closing. Now, if we stay down here below the weekly rotation zone and close in there, we could add a multi-week pullback. Again, I'm watching this 44, 46 area, this little area here. And for a low basis, at least for the time being, and a closing basis, I'd watch for a close above the weekly rotation zone. So we are still prime for a bigger pullback. And you can see we were in overbought condition, and we can easily, without even getting to oversold condition on a weekly, get back to the bottom of the rotation zone. Because remember our last one, in September, multi-week pullback, then we got the rotation up, and here was the buy signal, the 11th. So I will be watching for the time being for that bigger pullback into the key levels, and I'd love to see that. Again, I didn't get a chance to reload stuff because it rotated so fast before. Let's take a look without all my lines. Here's the NASDAQ. NASDAQ, again, end of day, dip buyers coming in much stronger. There's like 8 billion. What was it? I think somebody put that in. 8 billion market on close, and I saw that too. Pretty substantial sell order, but you still have the dip buyers coming in the NASDAQ stocks rather aggressively into a day like this. NASDAQ, I'd need a close above 16,436 tomorrow to be an entry. And that would be a highly aggressive entry. If we close back above this, then that's from the 26th, then that's only valid for tomorrow. That would be an aggressive entry. Let's take a look at NASDAQ Weekly. See, NASDAQ Weekly hasn't even touched the rotation zone yet. But this is also overdue for a nice little pullback. And this was not a substantial enough pullback. And boy, down here, I'd be watching for a pullback to about 15,330 and a closing basis above about 15,433 to hold the rotation zone. But you also see this little mini divergence up here on the weekly basis. So you had higher highs, lower high RSI. So we were running up to momentum. We had terrible breadth, but I'm expecting the NASDAQ to roll over to last because that's where you have the majority of dip buyers that just buy every little dip and will get at some point completely crushed. On the dip that doesn't rotate up, and they're going to get really hurt. They're just buying up everything, and we have not had a substantial enough dip yet. But doesn't mean there can't be still another bullish entry pattern that just keeps pushing this thing higher. You got to still trade your technicals. Boy, bullish mode. You can see here with the big self, it was just briefly above here, above the bullish mode, and then just got tanked. So that, kept me out of harm's way for quite a while in here. I'm actually going with, let's see. We're going to have to use up here more. About 16. What are we at? 16,210 is bullish mode for me. No double bottom like in the S&P, but that's what I'll be watching for, some kind of bottoming formation in this. But I am just not aggressively a NASDAQ buyer. You still do not have the breadth. The breadth is just horrible in the NASDAQ. And here's the one thing I did intraday. Intraday, I put on from the 9 a.m. high and this was a 15-minute chart I don't normally go down to, but when you have this kind of selling pressure, I had to get a pausing bar at 1611 right at the 10 o'clock bar, which gave me 16,068.50. And what was the low? 16,068.75. So that's close enough for what we're watching for to start watching. We had a nice little divergence off of there, and then it never retested the lows again. So what are we watching for tomorrow? Bigger picture. Again, bullish mode above 1622. And this is bullish mode with a grain of sand because it's just to watch for key bullish patterns. But overall, you know, technically we're still in very bullish mode with the daily close, but I'm more in slightly neutral mode. So let's see. My area for rally tomorrow is 16,288. So if we continue to trade higher, about 16,288, maybe 16,296. Let's see, I'm just trying to fine tune this level. Let me drop down to the 1 hour. Get you a good level here. Yeah, about, let's just go 16,300, 16,299, 16,300. That's where your level is. Sometimes you have to drop down in time frames to just fine tune it. It helps to find it on the larger time frame. And then if you need to fine tune it, drop it down a bit. 16,300. Above that, 16,421. Then you have 16,456, the high of today. And above that, we now have a cluster at 16,514 and 16,573. To the downside, this is where I'll drop down in time again. I'm going to key off about 16,045. 16,045, which is still, looks like, you know, we're back in the daily rotation zone. 16,045, below that's 15,986, which is key. That's Friday's low. Then I have major support should we roll over tomorrow, 15,890. And then beyond that, I'm looking at 15,800, where we have the rising 50 exponential, the harmonic, and a significant level just above there. So that's the really key level for tomorrow should we have another sell off below Friday's low. And that will freak a lot of people out. Looking at the Dow. Again, this is just coming down. We had 34,399. And you see here now another little mini double bottom pattern in here, very just reversing this move. But that's a really short-term thing. Let's just see where that takes us. Let's make sure it's valid first of all. Yeah, yep. The first and second target within the bodies that formed it. So it would be a 1 hour close above 34,638. And then you have 34,753, 34,812 are the high probability targets. The low probability is 34,870. So I'll be keeping an eye on that. But again, that's shorter term. We're holding the first harmonic. If we roll down below this, we're back at 34,150 is my key support. Bullish mode, can see here after you was above it a little in the Asian session, then before Europe's open, dropped below it and never returned. My bullish mode for tomorrow is about 34,605. 34,605. So let's go to levels beyond that double. That would take you into the 4 hour rotation zone. Really pay attention to this first 34,760 area. First, because we have the declining rotation zone on the 4 hour basis. Then I'm bumping this level up because we have a little more significance right here, about 34,863, and we have 34,870 running in with the double bottom pattern. And then above that, oh boy. Above that, I'm back to about 35,179. Let me check out that daily chart. I need a daily close above tomorrow, above this bar's high to trigger a aggressive, very short-term entry going against the daily rotation zone, but that is a valid entry if we had a rip your face off rally in the Dow. Highly aggressive entry, but it is. Just we now back below another trend line, but there's some significant support down at this 34,175 area. You can see here this little prior closing basis rotation up. We have a 2 harmonics down there also. And right in front of that is actually the red line. See, we haven't returned. This is the 200 simple moving average. We haven't returned to that level, which we could very well on weakness tomorrow, 34,261, where I'd be watching where we closed. I wouldn't use that level intraday to lean against. I'd be leaning against this cluster, but I'd be watching that level on a close. The last time we even tested that level, I know the chart's a little, was 30th of October of last year, of 20. So we have not even come back in contact with that for over a year now. So that is a really important key level to watch for tomorrow. If we drop below this 34,150, 34 right in here, this cluster 34,150, 34,175, next level is really down. I'm just going to roughly use this harmonic area. We're going to go with about 34,725 to 34,766. So that's an, again, more disaster mode. And that's big because if you get a close below there, you then have targets down around 33,000. Let's take a look at that weekly chart. So remember last week, Dow closed below its rotation zone. So Dow is technically in neutral mode, which is if there's any longs, it's aggressively moving up. Now, if we get that close above yesterday's or today's high tomorrow, then it would be back into bullish mode at least until the end of the week, and then we'd have to reassess. But that would be a very aggressive entry. Let's see. I don't know. I think there's a lot of stigma right now with some Chinese stocks with their accounting stuff and their. So I don't see people aggressively rolling into them. They might pick and choose a couple, and BABA could be one. I haven't looked at BABA in a while. I haven't looked at that again. BABA is very weak. So, but it's looking like it's got a divergence coming up, and so there could possibly be some aggressive entries in that in something like BABA. QQQ is at 21 EMA. The QQQ, let's see. Yeah, QQQ is at the 21 EMA. I mostly key off the futures because this doesn't trade overnight, but it is at a critical juncture because it matches the NASDAQ. Now, the NASDAQ futures have rallied back post-market a lot harder, which is why I watch the futures. But you do start getting a close below this 21 EMA, because then that would, you'll also have the futures lower. Then again, where does that put us? You know, I'll be watching that weekly rotation zone, but you could easily get the multi-week pullback into the bottom of the rotation zone. Again, in SPY, which is the spiders, you know, coming back here is now below the 50, but this is again, this is why I watch the futures. But here's what to watch for. The first cross of the rotation zone, it's back in, that would take it to bearish mode. It's still technically in neutral mode, and it did close below the 50 period exponential. But if you have it all futures data, even delayed futures data, then I'd be watching that a little more aggressively than the spiders and the Qs. But so far, this is not good price action on it. And by the way, if you did get a close, a massive rally tomorrow, and it closed above today's high in the spiders, it would be an aggressive buy signal. And let me double check the cubes. If you got there, you would not have an entry in the cubes at this point. Anything else? Anybody? Oh, I'm just going to take a look at crude. Crude, I was watching 65.15 spike below that, but nice little rally back. But crude, remember, shifted to bearish mode, retested the rotation zone, and rotated down. Today looks like it might be attempting to at least put in a short-term bottom with this little spike low. So I will be keeping an eye on that. But overall, even on a rally, tomorrow I'm watching about 67.85 to 68 bucks. That's where the declining rotation zone is. And then above there, I'm watching about 69.80 to 670 bucks. So those are my two key levels. We'd have to get above about 71 for me to really start watching, and 71 doesn't even take you back to the weekly rotation zone. Keep in mind, you could easily still rotate back up to 75 and then head back lower, but this does look like it's at least attempting to put in a short-term bottom. Yep, we can XPEV, yeah, XP. So that was a nice little rally back, holding with the rotation zone. So again, your next targets higher are 56.70 to about 57.67 and 60.36. Coming off the rotation zone, and this just confirmed it getting back above yesterday's high. So we do have a nice little rotation up. So that's what we have there. By the way, just want to touch on one other. We have gold. Gold has pulled back massively. I'd actually need a close above today's high, and that's a short-term entry, 1813.10. It is getting overbought, but it have to reprove itself because this collapse did not hold the trend line, and coming back down into congestion. So it would have to get above yesterday's high on a closing basis, which would also take it above this prior little resistance level. Silver, again, silver and gold, they're just still getting beaten down. Silver, nothing doing yet. Again, we dipped back last week into this congestion area after the breakout, which is never good. And then I was watching for the other side, which we've now broken below. But we're leaning on some pretty key support right here. So we'll watch for potential short-term little bounce, but nothing longer term at this time in either gold or silver. So gold, unless it closes above today's high tomorrow, that would be the only very aggressive buy signal. I would expect silver to bounce a bit, but there's nothing but super aggressive buy signals above today's high. But they're super aggressive with very short-term targets around the $24 mark again. With that, I'm going to wrap it up unless I see any other questions in the next few seconds. Just seeing if there's anything else. Did not look at a bunch at the Russell today. Just taking a look at the Russell. Again, it's still in this consolidation. Would not be surprised if we did see some little bounce in the Russell over the next couple days, but this is not strong price action. Again, the Russell, I would not get bullish again unless we got above the 2340. Because there's a lot of overhead resistance. Not seeing any more questions, so I will call it a day. Thank you for joining, and I'll talk to everybody at the Tesla live stream in about 30 minutes. Bye for now.